Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you how to balance chemical equations. What you see is a periodic table and a list of steps on how to do the balancing of equation. Right here, you would see R, which means reactant. So this is your reactant side, and P is your product side. Okay, so if I'm going to read this equation right here, it would be sodium and water combine together to form sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Okay, so the first step in balancing the equation is the first one is list all of the different elements on the reactant side. Okay, so this is our reactant side right here. So we're going to list all of the different elements, but please remember that you're going to start with the metals first, non-metals except the hydrogen and oxygen, and then hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so we're gonna need our periodic table to determine which one is a metal, which one is non-metal. Okay, so in this case, first step, list all the different elements on the reactant side. So you would have Na. Okay, so from the periodic table, we see Na is right here, which is a metal. Okay, so metal. And then we have hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so metals first, non-metals except hydrogen and oxygen. And then you have your hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so I'm going to write hydrogen first and your oxygen. Okay, that's step number one. Step number two, list all the different elements on the product side. Okay, so this is our product side, and we have our Na, which is a metal, and then oxygen, hydrogen, and then we have hydrogen gas right here. Okay, so I'm just going to write it Na, metal first. Okay, so balance the metals first, and then you have your hydrogen and your oxygen. So this is your hydrogen and your oxygen. Okay, that's step number two. Now, step number three, count up the elements on the reactant side. Okay, so in this case, we have Na is 1, and then hydrogen, H2, so we have 2 hydrogens in the reactant side. Oops. And then we have 1 oxygen. Okay, so we have 1 oxygen. In the other side, we have, again, 1 sodium. Hydrogen, we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so this is the subscript. You cannot change the subscripts though. Okay, so this H2 and H2 right here, that stays there. You can only change the number right here, which is the coefficient. Okay, so just remember that you cannot touch these numbers right here, or we call that the subscripts. You can only change the coefficients. So in this case, we have Na is 1. Okay, hydrogen, let's count all the hydrogens in the product side. We have 1 hydrogen, and we have 2 right here, so 1 plus 2 is 3. And then oxygen, there's only 1. Okay, now let's look at the top. So Na, or sodium, is balanced. Hydrogen is not balanced. We have 3 on one side and 2 on the other side. Our oxygen is balanced. Okay, so we're going to leave our Na alone. And so since right here we have 3 hydrogen, and we're going to change this H2O. Okay, so we're going to change that into 2. So let's try to put 2 right here. Okay, so if you put 2, so this is your coefficient. Okay, so your coefficient would be multiplied to each one of these atoms right here. So you have 2 times 2 is 4. So now your hydrogen becomes 4. Okay, and then 2 times 1, your oxygen becomes, instead of 1, now 2. Okay, now let's look at the numbers again. So we have Na is 1, still balanced. Our hydrogen is now 4 on the reactant side and 3 on the product side, so that's not balanced. And also our oxygen is 2 on the reactant side and 1 in the product side. Okay, so let's do our hydrogen first. So this is the sequence that you're going to do. Okay, so this is the top. We're going to leave that alone. We're going to go to the second one, which is hydrogen. So we're going to do hydrogen first before the oxygen. Okay, so what we can do is change the number of hydrogen right here, which we could probably put. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 on this side. Okay, so remember, you have to distribute the numbers to each one of the atoms in the product side. Okay, so 2 times 1, so now our Na is 2, and then 2 times 1, our O would become 2, and then 2 times 1H. Now we have 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, so now our H is 4. So let's look at our equation. So we have Na is 1 on the reactant side and 2 in the product side. H is 4 in the reactant side and 4 in the product side, which is balanced. Now our oxygen is 2 and 2. Okay, so the only thing that we need to do is change the Na to 2. So what we can do is put 2 right here. So then 2 times 1, so this becomes 2. Okay, so now let's check all of the numbers to make sure that they're all balanced. Our Na in the reactant side is 2, and the product side is 2, so this is balanced. Now hydrogen in the reactant side is 4, and in the product side is 4, so this is balanced. Oxygen is 2 in the reactant side and also 2 in the product side, so this is balanced. So now the whole equation is balanced. Okay, so let's try. Um, So now let's try to follow the steps again. So we have the first one is list all of the different elements on the reactant side. So this is our reactant side and this is our product side. Okay. So what I did earlier was actually I put all the different elements in here and also here. Okay. But I'm going to show you another way of doing it. So you have your arrow right here. This is your combined to form the product. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to join together the step number 1 and step number 2. Okay, so because what atoms you find in the reactant side is the same as in the product side anyways. Okay, so the first thing is our metal. So in this case Na, so Na is in group 1A, which is an alkali metal. So I'm going to write Na right here in the middle. Okay, and then the next one is nonmetals except hydrogen and oxygen. So Cl would be our next one. And then our hydrogen. Okay. So, and then I'm just going to line this one right here. So then now I'm going to start counting. So then count up. So step number 3, count up the elements on the reactant side. So we have 1 Na, we have 1 Cl, and we have 1 hydrogen. Okay, in the product side right here, we have also 1 Na, we have 1 Cl, and we have 2 hydrogen. Okay, so Na is balanced, chlorine is balanced, our hydrogen is not balanced. So what we need to do is put 2 right here. So 2 times 1 is 2. So now the hydrogen in the reactant side would be 2. But you also have to multiply the 2 to the chlorine. Okay, so there's 1 chlorine times 2. So the Cl would become 2. So now let's look at our numbers. Na is still balanced on both sides. Now the Cl is unbalanced. The hydrogen is balanced. Okay, so let's do the Cl. So we only have 1 Cl in the product side. So we're going to put 2. Okay, so 2. So 2 Na. So the Na now is going to be 2. And then 2 times the Cl, there's only one Cl, so now the Cl is 2. Okay, again, let's look at our numbers. Okay, in A in the left side, the reactant side is 1. In the product side, there's 2, so that's unbalanced. The Cl is good and the hydrogen is good. Okay, so what we need to do is change this coefficient to 2. So 2 in A, so now this becomes 2. Okay, so let's look at our numbers. So in A, left side and product side is balanced. And then chlorine, we have 2 and 2, so that's balanced. Hydrogen, 2 and 2 is balanced. So our equation is balanced. Is it getting easier? I hope so. So step number 1, list all the different elements in the reactant side. And then number 2 is list all the different elements on the product side. So again, instead of doing it on both sides, since they're the same atoms anyway, so we're just going to put those in the middle. So the first thing we need to do is find the metals. So let's see if K, so K is in group 1A, so it is a metal. So we're going to write K. And then I is, so we have our I is a nonmetal, and then our Br is also a nonmetal. So we can do I and then bromine, okay? So I'm just going to put a line right here to separate. Now, step number 3, count up the different elements, count up the elements on the reactant side. Okay, so this is our reactant side right here. So K, we have, I'm going to change the color. So K, we have 1, okay? I, we have 1 also. We have 1 iodine. And then we have 2 bromine. Now, on the product side, we have 1 K, 1 Br, and we have 2 I's, okay? So our K is balanced, our I is not balanced, and our bromine is not balanced, okay? So we're going to do I first. So in this case, we want to make this into 2, okay? So this is 2. So 2 times 1, so the K would become 2, and then your I would also become 2. Now let's look at the if it's balanced again. So 2 and 1, not balanced, 2 and 2. So we're going to take care of the K, and then after that, we're going to do the Br, the bromine, okay? So in this side right here, so we need to make this 2. So 2K, so this becomes 2, okay? Now the Br, we have also, there's Br, there's 1 right here, so times 2 is 2. So now let's look at our numbers, okay? So we have 2K on the reactant side and the product side, so that's good, that's balanced. We have our I, 2 in the reactant side and 2 in the product side, that's good. And then our bromine, we have 2 in the reactant side and 2 in the product side, so this is good, okay? So I hope you understand how to balance equations, and if you have any questions, come see me after class. Thanks, bye-bye.